So, The Sworn Sword is the second story in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, following our man Dunk and his squire Egg out in, I think it's the Reach, working for this petty, low-ranking minor knight, kind of a landed knight, out in the middle of nowhere, taking part in this feud over the command of a river. Right? It's an interesting story, full of morally complex characters dealing with the kind of low and gritty, the petty nobility, little more than peasants, right? Um, and it surprisingly has a great deal to do with Targaryen history and the Blackfyre Rebellion. The Blackfyres, of course, being the house formed by Daemon Blackfyre, brother of Brynden the Bloodraven, and the son of Aegon the Unworthy, I think his name was. But that's a whole story in itself, with backstabbings and black magic and all sorts. For now, we have Dunk and Egg out patrolling the countryside in the most miserable heat and drought one could possibly imagine. The land is just burnt. Um, they're lending a hand to Sir Eustace Osgrey. He's a sorry old sort. He's fond of staring out the window and talking about the old days. He actually fought in the Blackfyre Rebellion, and he goes on and on about he's a good king's man and how his sons died valiantly for the loyalist cause. Um, now, he's a complicated character, since he likes to ramble on about how cool his Dunk is, right? My faithful knight. Though he's actually a bit of a jerk later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a problem. Sir Eustace and his people rely on a local stream for water, and that stream has been dammed by peasants from a nearby town. Is it a town? It might just be a castle. I don't actually remember. Anyway, I think it's called Coldmoat, Cold Fort, Coldmoat. Um, and Dunk and Egg are obviously trying to negotiate with these peasants. They're trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, why are you stealing our water, right? Um, when Sir Eustace's other knight in his service, this guy Binnis the Brown, he rides up and slashes the face of one of the workers, just starts shouting and cursing and causing trouble. Um, that guy's a real jerk. He is. The peasants didn't do anything wrong, really. Or, I mean, they're just doing what they're told by their boss, this mysterious Red Widow of Coldmoat. Um, right? Ooh, spooky. But they're just workers, right? And that Brown Knight had no reason to make things violent. I mean, he's actually, I really like him as a character. From as a person, he's awful, but as a storyteller, I can appreciate a really nasty. He represents everything that Dunk isn't, right? Binnis is cruel and malicious and spiteful, and Dunk is kind and generous and all. He's the anti-knight. Um, he's like a more evil Bronn, and I can appreciate that with his rotten teeth and brown shield and dirty clothes. No honor to him at all. Yeah, and Dunk and Egg are forced to clean up his mess. Their boss, Sir Eustace, sends Dunk and Egg out to smooth things over with the Red Widow, who has a whole lot more soldiers than they do, and a whole lot better soldiers than they do, right? Dunk can take like three guys at once if you put an axe in his hand. He's just hopeless at jousting and riding and all the knightly stuff. Um, but if he's stuck with five farmers, working with him against a dozen or so mounted knights, um, yeah, it doesn't go over well. So he needs to talk to the Red Widow. at first he thinks that she's going to be like this evil old crone, of course, right? She's had like 4 husbands, I'm pretty sure, and she turns out to be this young red-headed girl who Dunk immediately has a crush on. She kind of flirts with him a bit, and just like, okay, the dialogue in this is just so good, almost better than in the main series. Their little back and forth there. Meanwhile, Egg, the freaking kid, he is just a cranky and unhappy in this story, and I'm not sure why exactly, but he just keeps insulting everyone and making a fuss, and it's awesome because he's smart and he knows how to push people's buttons. Uh, yeah, I'm sure he learned that from his brother Daron the Drunken, who's also has that quick wit that's just great to read. But yeah, anyway, Egg is berating people while Dunk is just becomes this starry-eyed moon calf in the presence of the Red Widow. Her real name is Rohan Weber, and apparently her whole deal is that in her father's will, he decreed that she could have his lands and titles and whatnot, so long as she was married, which is an interesting little switcheroo monkey's paw situation. But her husband's keep mysteriously dying. I mean, of course, she gives a good explanation for each of them, right? One guy like choked on a chicken bone, and the other, I think, fell off his horse. Maybe I don't quite remember there. But the point is that she's perpetually in need of a new husband, and but now her steward, her castellan, this big kind of black clad giant of a man, not as giant as Dunk, mind you. But this guy called Lucas Longinch thinks that he should be the one to marry her. She's already refused, but he might sooner or later not give her a choice. This, of course, makes Dunk sympathetic to her plight, seeing as she only dammed the stream to look after her own people, and she's struggling to get by with the Longinch sabotaging her and like always breathing down her neck and just causing trouble. It's a little oh poor Rohan, right? I feel so bad for her, and I think it's a little too easy. I think there's she is also more complex than meets the eye, right? There's the switcheroo that she isn't like pure evil, right? That she's just this nice young woman. Um, but I don't think that means that she can't also be evil, just not as evil as perhaps we thought at first. Um, I mean, she does threaten fire and sword to Sir Eustace if he doesn't give up the Brown Knight who attacked her peasants. And Dunk believes her, pretty much. I mean, it's a whole mess, and made worse when she reveals that Sir Eustace was never a loyalist after all. He fought for the Blackfires, not the Trueborn Targaryens. This obviously sets off Egg, right? Who, when they get back to the boss man, Egg just goes nuts, and they're both upset at Sir Eustace, who lied to them, and that he was actually a rebel who got pardoned for his crimes once the war was over. And he reveals that he's just a sad old dude, right? His sons died for this rebel cause, fighting for the suave, self-centered, misogynistic Daemon Blackfire, as opposed to the bookish, kind, trueborn king. Um, but that's not so black and white either. Um, it's also a story for another day, though. Um, Dunk and Egg have this huge falling out with Sir Eustace, who just goes berserk, uh, really, really stick in the mud, digs in his heels. Um, and then they discover that the forest outside the guy's tower house is on fire. Dunk remembers the thing Rohan said about fire and sword, right? And the next day they ride out to meet with the Red Widow. Bennis the Brown has hightailed it, and taking a great deal of Sir Eustace's wealth with him, having stolen a bunch. I hope Dunk and Egg encounter him again in like another story. I don't know, but that'd be a great encounter. Anyway, at the river, at the stream, Rohan claims that she had nothing to do with burning the forest. It might have been Bennis looking to cause a distraction so that he could escape, or it might have been the Longinch looking to cause conflict and make Rohan a bit more desperate. Um, but she says that she didn't do it and demands satisfaction, not only for the accusation against her, but for the peasants who were attacked. This is a setup so she can have a trial by combat, uh, setting Dunk against the Longinch, right? Either way, she sort of comes out on top, either gaining power over Sir Eustace if the Longinch wins, or getting the Longinch killed because he's a pain in the ass. Which happens because Dunk is awesome, and of course he's gonna win. They have this nasty little brawl in the river when the Longinch like ducks underwater and reappears like a horror movie villain, with Dunk only barely managing to like get around him and throttle him in the water and drown him in the river. Um, Dunk nearly drowns as well, though, but Rohan's maester turns out to be Ironborn, so Dunk gets brought back pretty easily. Rain is finally falling on the parched land, and Sir Eustace and Rohan finally put aside their differences. They make peace. They also get married so that she gets to keep her lands and her stuff, and he gets to keep his stuff, right? Uh, and also he gets the cool castle at Coldmoat too. Um, this upsets Dunk though because he had that crush on Rohan, and she says that she would rather have married him, but he's not highborn, so after a bit of chit chat, they actually smooch for a bit, and Dunk takes a lock of her hair to remember her by. Ah, happy endings, right? Except, according to the complicated history written by our buddy George R. R. Martin, uh, Sir Eustace dies not long after the wedding, perhaps killed by Rohan. Maybe she's more evil than we thought. I did a little bit of some more research, and apparently Rohan goes on to marry a freaking Lannister, getting all that guy's wealth and power, only to disappear like a freaking illusionist, never to be seen again. Um, I like to think Dunk and Egg had something to do with that. I don't know. We're probably never going to get that story. Um, but she did have some children with the Lannister guy. Children who go on to have children who go on to have children who, I guess what I'm getting at is she is the direct ancestor of Cersei and maybe Tyrion and Jaime. She's Jaime's ancestor. And Dunk is the ancestor of Brienne. So I just wanted to point that out there. The symbolism, right? The connection there. It's almost like our man George is some sort of author. Um, but yeah, uh, the Sworn Sword is a nice twisty tale with a bunch more colorful characters and sharp dialogue, and it's easily more tolerable than the main series, right? You can stomach it a lot more than some of the extreme stuff that happens in A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, but be warned, because the Hedge Knight and the Sworn Sword are one thing, one whimsical story after another. But the Mystery Knight, that is something else entirely, my friend, uh, regarding the Blackfire Rebellion and Bloodraven and all sorts of mad, crazy plots and schemes. Um, until then, bye.